News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Brought to you by Squid Motors. Every vehicle you purchase from our showroom comes with a free 10-foot live squid in the trunk. Get even more than you bargained for at Squid Motors.
And welcome to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbert with GeekySideTV.com.
You can call, and that's our buddy Max behind the glass. Max, turn that music down. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. Well, Allan, gosh.
Well, I'm glad you finally get your ears cleaned.
Yeah. It's what an eventful week. It's
been a busy week.
William Shatner goes to outer space.
Yes.
There's new developments in asteroid mining, and all of this is going to relate to our home.
It does.
At one point or another, it comes to a big box store near us. So we've got a 30 years of stupid that sounds very relevant this time of year. So,
oh my gosh.
And actually, Max later in the show has a deep cut. It's another one of his deep cuts, and actually, I got in on this. It's information on how the pyramids might have actually been built. And there was we watched different videos on it, and there's some very plausible theories. There's one in particular that we're gravitating towards, and we're gonna throw it at you blind, so you can't.
Good, because I'm gonna respond with Key West, Florida.
Okay, all right. Jeez, okay. Key West, Florida, huh?
Yep.
All right. I don't know where that is. We have a must-have item of the week. And, Allan, we would really love for people to give us a call because we're going to be doing some ticket giveaways coming up now. We're only we're less than 30 days out from the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention, which we run November 12th through 14th. And we're going to, in honor of welcoming in our Tool Talk friends, we want to get them over to the convention. So we're going to be doing some giveaways. I'll talk about that later. So it's all coming at you today on Tool Talk Radio. But before we get to any of that...
And now, Tool Talk Radio's weekly salute.
You'll never have any success in life unless you know how to take care of business. Elvis Presley was such a firm believer in this notion that he not only made this the animating principle of his musical empire, but he was even able to monetize the letters TCB. Wait, just imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
Hogwarts dropouts Fred and George Weasley may have been the school's biggest practical jokers, but they were also able to take care of business by converting those skills into a solid business model, launching the hugely successful joke shop Weasley's Wizarding Wheezes. And, of course, the amateur marine biologist and scuba enthusiast Allan Gilbert would never have gotten away with installing a 1 million gallon fish tank in his backyard in order to study the most burning question in science today: is it possible to train a group of squid to play water polo? Without first taking care of the business of bribing his neighborhood homeowners association director to look the other way in exchange for a lifetime supply of fried calamari. So I guess that's the losing team. They get served up there.
You have to have motivation.
Yes, the ability to take care of business is critical, and it is no less so in the area of tree and limb removal. Boy, there's a left turn.
Yeah.
Throughout the history of mankind, tree and limb removal was a back-breaking operation. Today, however, tree and limb removal is a much easier task thanks to the invention we honor today. My friends, we give you the chainsaw.
Yay!
Allan, I got to tell you, man.
You went down a dark back alley with this one, didn't you?
Yeah, and women, if you're eating, ladies out there, I just want to say I developed a brand new respect for you after I did. Okay, so Allan, I'm just minding my own business. Here's
right.
A little peek behind the curtain, folks. Here's how this works. I write up the salute. I come up with the item we want to salute that day. Then I do the research and find out who invented it. Well, would you believe, people, that the chainsaw was originally invented to assist with childbirth?
Yes.
So, holy smokes, Allan. So basically,
it was designed to do cesarean sections.
Yeah. Well, this is before cesarean sections were really much of a thing, and so they this just sounds barbaric. They to widen the birth canal, I guess they would cut the pelvis bone and cartilage and everything, and they called this a simicion. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's painful, basically. This was invented in 1780. I guess so no anesthesia.
And just keep in mind where this was named. This was all named for the cesarean section, which gave birth to Julius Caesar way back before we had power tools.
Yeah, I mean, boy.
Yeah, there
ladies,
you
go. You know, kids, next time you want to complain to your mother about something, just look at what they go through.
Yeah,
just
don't.
to get you into the
just
world.
don't.
So, but and then so, you know, we fast forward to 1905. There's a lot of competing inventors, you could say, that were trying to convert this over to using it for wood and other items. And so in 1905, Samuel J. Benz of San Francisco, he really got the ball rolling. He was trying to cut down these big redwoods, which I don't know how I feel about that, but I guess trees do grow again. In 1918, James Shand, he was a Canadian, he made the first portable chainsaw. Then once you get into the 1920s, it's off and running, and I couldn't really pin down who was the
A wide variety of people did a wide variety of variations.
Absolutely. So, well, speaking of a wide variety of variations, you're listening to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break, and Allan, just for kicks, we're going to jump into our 30 years of stupid.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
This castle is in unacceptable condition! Unacceptable!
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
Allan, the drawbridge was working when I left. I don't know what his problem is. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbert from Geeky Side TV. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. Or go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. There's reasons to do that, Allan. For one thing, we want to hear from you. Give us a like. You'll always be up to date on our podcast because, we're very proud of the podcast platform we're on now, Allan.
Yes, you need to pop over to tooltalkradio.com and click on that Spotify button, and that way you can very happily take us with you.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have Spotify. I know it's one of my favorite platforms. Super easy to use.
Yes.
Easy to find us. And of course, if you, like we say, if you go to Tool Talk Radio's Facebook page, you can get the link every week. And also, we want to hear from you about your home improvement adventures, your home improvement trials and tribulations, and pictures and all that. And just
we love the pictures. We love to see your successes, but it's okay. Go ahead and confess your disasters too.
It's therapeutic.
Oh, yeah.
Trust me. So,
because speaking of disasters,
yeah. Well, okay, never mind. I had a really interesting segue, but we'll do that next time. Allan, speaking of disasters, as you say, the 30 years of stupid, you didn't prepare me very much for this other than to say there's a right way and a wrong way to install an HVAC system.
Oh,
Larry Brown, listen up. I'm sure you're going to cringe here.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. Right. I am a huge proponent of DIY.
Sure.
I am a massive proponent of it. We have a whole show devoted to it. We do live demonstrations. We, all these wonderful things. I'm going to throw in just a couple of scenarios I ran into this week.
This week. You see a lot of things I don't see, Allan.
This week. Well, see, you get those nice, stable jobs somewhere, and you're on location for what? Weeks, occasionally
I'm working
months.
On things made out of wood. How complicated is that?
I, on the other hand, am the person on the other end of the phone when they go, we don't know how the ostriches got out, but they're loose.
Yeah.
Call Allan. So that's my world.
Okay.
Wow. How do I explain this? All right. One, if you have a window unit air conditioning, the backside of it needs to be in the outside world.
Yeah. Okay.
Not your sub-building next door.
Yeah.
Do not, the office was beautifully cool. The warehouse, was baking muffins.
Because the backside of an air conditioner is funny. It's like it's kicking out all the humidity that
It's where all the heat goes.
all the water and the heat goes out. I mean, it's the word. It's like you're making it in a jungle environment in there.
And
hot
I
humid.
admire their ingenuity. They were looking at it and they were kind of like, okay, if we cut a hole through the wall here, it'll just go into the warehouse.
Right.
So they did, and they put the window unit in. But now the window unit is venting all of that humidity and all of that heat into where they were storing stuff.
Okay.
And they were wondering why it was 150 degrees in the warehouse.
Okay, so Alan, let me guess the scenario. I can already see where this is going. So you've got a warehouse, so I'm assuming this is the office side of it. This is the office workers.
Right. They're baking alive in a steel building.
No, the warehouse workers are the one baking alive.
No, everybody was baking alive, so they got cute and they got the idea that, well, what we're going to do is we're going to cut a hole in the wall and we're going to put a window unit in it.
Okay.
All right, so far, so good. And I got to admit, they found a good spot. They didn't cut any wires. They didn't get into any water or anything. Found a nice little spot on the wall. Sadly, the back side of it was in their warehouse.
Okay, so they didn't read the manual on that one.
No. Well, they just, because of the size of the warehouse, they were thinking no one will ever notice.
Okay, see,
and they don't realize how much water and how much heat.
Yeah.
Even a small window unit chugs along and produces.
Okay. See, Alan, what I saw happening here when you're describing this is a lot of passive aggressive stuff. It's like you got the mean boss, because I worked for a guy like this way back when I was like 19.
Gosh.
So they're all comfortable and cool inside the office, and they're making it even hotter and more miserable for you. And it's like, well, just or it makes it where you're gonna I don't know, get to work quicker because you don't want to be around that heat blowing out. So I don't know. It sounds like a pretty dirty trick to me. Like I wonder if this was on purpose or
it wasn't, because it backfired on everybody. Because they're in there and like, why is it so moist in here? Why is the air so wet? And I'm like, okay, I know you thought the warehouse was big, but you have just no idea how much heat you were up against.
Yeah, so that it didn't occur to them that this hot air, when you stand next to it, it's blowing out.
It occurred to them, but they didn't realize the volume of air that was going to get moved out of the backside of that air conditioner. So, and then as a caveat to that, all right, ladies and gentlemen, there are reasons they put safety devices on things to automatically turn them off when something goes wrong. Please do not disable these.
I think that's a good rule for anything. Don't disable the safety.
I'm not going to get into too many specifics, but again, another air conditioner. But somebody went, we don't need that flood switch. just pull that thing out. Don't worry. Just let that sit up here.
Oh, you're talking about like an actual full unit. Then.
Some of the larger window units also have a flood switch in case water starts coming back in the front.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And
because you also have to tip them slightly.
And they have to sit at a quarter bubble back, so the water goes backwards, not forwards.
Yeah.
Well, this one was installed beautifully, 100% completely flat and level.
Okay.
As Joe begins to smirk, I'm going, no, I mean, it was perfect bubble level.
Because I already know. So now it's going to flow over on both sides.
And now the water is going to be even on both sides.
Yeah.
And they took the little float out of the front so that, it wouldn't, don't worry about it. It'll keep running. Yeah, it'll keep running all the way out the front door as it fills up your carpet. And, oh my gosh. Yeah. Some of the things, all right, if you're going to put these things in, folks, please read the instructions.
Yeah, they're not there as a suggestion.
They need to lean slightly backwards. So the water goes to the back. And for heaven's sake, make sure you know where they're venting out to, because it is really dramatically a lot more heat than you think.
One other thing, Alan, while we're talking about this, if you've got one of those window air conditioners and they're going out, you don't want to put it like 2 inches away from the bush that's right out there because for one thing,
well, it depends on how much you want to get rid of that bush.
It's going to clog it up, or it might start the thing on fire. I don't know. I mean, it's going to dry it out.
It's gonna kill it. Yeah,
that's a lot of heat. I
mean, and that's when you discover you also have prairie grass that grows really good and loves that heat and will come up right in front of it.
Jeez. Okay. So, boy, it's the stuff you see, Alan. I mean, I don't have to deal with that, luckily.
Well, it was just one of those moments where, they walked me in and showed me in the office how they installed it. So I'm checking the insulation. I'm looking at the foam. They even had the quarter bubble leaned back and everything just right. And I'm like, all right, I don't really, I'm not seeing a problem. So let's go around on the backside.
Yeah.
And when we walked out, I expected to kind of, turn left and walk around to the back side of the building. Now, we turned right and headed over towards the warehouse. And I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
And you walk into the warehouse, and of course, it's like, oh, no. This is, you guys are trying to cook everything back here.
Yeah.
So it just, once again, ladies and gentlemen, the volume of heat and humidity that one of these, and it's a very small unit.
No, but they're working. They kick out the water.
Well, as Larry Brown has reminded us, just your average home unit puts out over 60 gallons of water a day.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. So, absolutely. Hey, you know what, Alan? Speaking of Larry Brown, because enough of this. We've talked about how not to do HVAC. Let's talk about how to do it correctly.
Yes, absolutely.
The good people at Brown Refrigeration, they know their stuff. And this is an interesting time of year, Alan. I suspect today might be one of those days you use the heat and the air conditioning in the same day. It was a little cool this morning, and by this afternoon, who knows, it might warm up. And you need your system running at peak efficiency. They always have, this is what I always recommend too. They have these great tune-up specials.
Yes.
Get the thing tuned up, get it ready for winter. It never hurt. It's very affordable, and it's also a way to check out the system and make sure there's no problems. And
well, there's a key word there. Find a problem while it's small.
Right.
Don't wait for it to become, oh, wow, the compressor's gone.
Right. Well, and the other good thing is they have, if you do need to replace your HVAC unit, what I love is the financing. We really need to sell that out. They got a great financing terms. It's almost like, 4 years of no interest. I don't want to get the number wrong, but it's pretty impressive.
It is.
And also the clean air systems, especially this time of year with the pollen and all the stuff in the air. It's making me sneeze. So, and their smart home technology. They do it all at Brown Refrigeration, and they have a really easy to remember website, brownref.com. And you can also give them a call at 901-362-1881. And as we always suggest, when you call in, ask for Mrs. Brown and ask her to tell you a funny story or something. And ask her why she hasn't come on Tool Talk Radio yet. That's what I want to know.
You're going to be subtle and put a little pressure on that. Yeah, so.
She has enough good sense. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, she's met us.
But
she's been in here before.
They're good people over there, too. So, but Alan, I think when we come back, I want to talk about we're going to be giving away some tickets to our listeners, and I want to give them information on that. But also, I guess let's get our tales of woe out of the way too. You've got flower boxes, do's and don'ts.
Oh yes,
that sounds very relevant. So we're going to get to that. So I guess we'll get all our warning tales out of the way, and then later in the show we're going to get very sciencey and futuristic. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio here on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
This here paint is absolutely permanent. It will never come off. So if I see even one drop on anything but wool, I'll have your rear ends cut off and mounted over me fireplace. So have fun with the job.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
There's a fine line between motivating and terrorizing, Alan. I mean,
I've worked for him.
Yeah. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Alan Gilbert from Geeky Side TV. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989, or go to our Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and give us a like. Get in touch with us there. You can actually see the must-have item of the week now if you need if you can't wait, to to see what it's going to be. If you're one of those people that needs those spoilers right away, go there. And Allan, I wanna invite people. Here's the thing: we're multifaceted individuals, you could say. We're here for fixing up your home, working with tools, talking about science and the future of home improvement. But we're also a couple of hardcore geeks.
Indeed.
If you listen later in the day, of course, we host Geek Tank Radio, and we also run the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention, which I don't talk about a lot on Tool Talk because it has nothing to do necessarily with that, but it's only a month away. It's going to be November 12th or 14th, so anybody that calls or texts today, one of you is going to win 2 free passes to the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention, which weekend passes. So that's an $80 value.
So that's worth some money.
It's a lot of fun. If you've never been to a convention, they're a blast. It's a 3-day geek celebration. Imagine hundreds of people in costumes. So over there, you got Darth Vader, Batman, everybody, and geeking out, celebrating all the good stuff about geekdom. And Allan will have his booth set up.
Yep, well, indeed. I'll be there.
Geeky Side TV. So get in touch with us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline, 901-683-0989. You can call or text us there.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Allan, and in a minute we're going to get to your flower boxes, do's and don'ts. But here's a do. I'm just going to put, this is all do's here. If you have to remodel your kitchen or bathroom, do call the good people at Tri-State Interiors. Here's the great way. This is I like the way they operate. For one thing, their focus is on craftsmanship and keeping their overhead low. Right there, I'm already intrigued because craftsmanship is what it's all about. At the end of the day, that's what's the most important feature. And also, you don't want to pay an arm and a leg. So you're paying for all of the overhead of any company that you hire. So, and Allan, as we know, before they start, for one thing, you're involved in the design process. The design process is cool. You come up with the look of the kitchen that you want, and then they put together this beautiful 3D rendering.
I thought being geeky, you can sit there and look at everything before you do it on the computer.
Right. It's cool. I've done. He sent me. Mike Serafolian has sent me some of these, and you download it. You can just open it up on your smartphone too. I mean, anything, and you do, and then you move the screen, and you can turn around and look at the whole kitchen. It's kind of like one of those Google Map things. So if you
it's kind of like, maybe I want the island a foot over to the left.
Right.
Well, this way, just.
Or what happens if we tear this wall out?
Exactly.
Or what happens if we move the island? What if we want to change the countertop? So you do all of that in the design stage, which to me would be one of the most fun things. And then when it's time to actually get started, they don't start anything. They don't remove one piece of sheetrock or anything until all of the parts and all of the counters, all the cabinets is sitting in their warehouse. So that way it's efficient. There's none of these delays where they're saying, well, sorry that your kitchen's halfway taken apart and now we have to go away for 6 weeks because the countertop's being ordered or something.
Well, and we all know,
I've seen that. I've been on jobs like that, Allan.
I say we all know logistics for the last 2 years has been a little wonky at best. So the thought that everything is there, the toilet is there, the sink is there, the rails are there, everything that they need to get the job done. Because I do want to point out, they want to get in, get you happy, get done, and get out.
Yeah.
Because they got clients waiting.
For everybody's sake. It's just it's a great business model, and they do great work. So get in touch with Tri-State Interiors. You can call Mike Serafolian. Good luck spelling his name. No, I'm just kidding, Mike. At 901-409-1333, or go to tristateinteriorsllc.com. And by the way, if you're listening, if you can hear the sound of this broadcast, if you're listening and you're way over in Arkansas or something, don't worry. You're in their service area. It's called Tri-State Interiors for a reason. All right, Allan. So this should be a very positive segment. I'm trying to keep the balance of positive stories versus negative, or not negative, but meathead stories. So flower boxes, do's and don'ts. Okay.
Well, I'm going to go
set your wheelhouse.
I'm going to set the Wayback Machine a little bit, and I'm actually going to say something nice about you, Joe.
Oh, okay.
You and I did a flower box job for a commercial client a number of years ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, by the way,
numerous years ago.
Allan worked for this company that had I don't even know, what was like 75,000 square foot building or something.
Yeah, it was not small.
Every window needed a flower box.
Yes.
I started an assembly line at my house making you flower boxes.
Okay,
that
now
was
what?
Like 8 years ago.
Yeah. Now, what did you make them out of?
I don't remember.
All right,
I think it was the Trex.
It was the impervious decking material
Right.
that lasts forever, kind of
Trex
thing.
decking, yeah.
They're very attractive. They were painted and all that put in place. And how did you install them?
You're asking me to remember things.
I know, but you
more than 2
installed
weeks
them
ago.
on
Yeah.
these two wonderful tracks that were mounted to the wall.
Yeah, I do remember the notion of, okay, well, they might weigh 30 pounds right now, but once you fill them up and there's water
And they get
plants
water
it,
in them
right.
and that kind of stuff. So you put a couple of really nice braces on the wall.
Okay, gotcha.
And recently I had occasion to follow up with that building and their repainting.
Yeah.
And the compliments the person who made the flower boxes was getting from the painters.
Oh.
Because the boxes were easy to take down, easy to paint behind, they were easy to put back into place.
Oh, that's
So,
right. Yeah, we made it so they'd be. I think I made it where you undo a couple of screws and then it's.
You
comes
undid
right
a
out.
screw or two, and that
Yeah.
thingy came right down. And all right, so I've basically described the dream scenario for putting up flower boxes. Now, in the South, a flower box is going to go one of two ways. One, it's going to be silk flowers.
Okay.
Or two, it's probably all going to die. Because, well, in the South, it's really hot here, guys.
Well, if they're
we,
in the sun, and then the window is reflecting against it. You're intensifying the heat. Yeah. 'Cause it's right against
window
the
boxes have a tendency to cook. So here in the South, and I'm pointing out, directly just in the Memphis area and below, of window boxes are generally populated by silk and plastic flowers. Because really, you're not gonna be able to water it enough and take care of it enough to keep plants alive.
Oh wait, you're saying they're all fake plants in there?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's kind of a cop out. Why,
Well,
I can
but
see
it
that
looks
inside.
nice. But it really
Okay.
looks nice, and you have the beautiful flower box. So, my first advice to everybody listening to us in the South, because I know we got a lot of listeners in New Orleans and a few other places, all right, guys, embrace the silk flowers, use the lightweight styrofoam or the foam block or whatever to put everything in, put a little topsoil on it to make it look nice. But remember, you're probably at some point going to want to paint this, remove it, take it down, something like that. So do not get cheesy like the house I saw yesterday, where the old boy had put up some flower boxes, but instead of putting a nice bracket under them or something like that, he had made them out of just untreated wood.
I already see where this is going. Alan.
And basically had just power bolted them to the walls of the house.
Right. So in other words, I'm picturing, okay, so you got a box. Maybe it's made out of fence board, or maybe it's made out
No,
of, like
you
said,
wish
it's
it
just
was that
1 by-
nice. Yeah.
1x4 or something. And so all of the weight and every bit of that weight is on those little points of just those couple of screws.
Yep.
Yeah, and we know who's going to win that battle.
Yeah,
So, it ain't the flower box.
And the new owners of the home are walking around looking at this, and I'm like, all right, well, here's your option. Take it all down and let's start fixing.
Yeah.
So again, look at things from the point of view of the weight and the use. Now, if you're actually going to try to grow stuff in it, keep in mind this box is now going to weigh 3 times what you think it's going to weigh.
Yeah, don't
Because
just
the
pick
water,
up the box and go,
water is heavy. We keep going back to water is the enemy. Water really is, because that stuff is 8.5 pounds per gallon, and you'd be shocked how much water a small flower box can hold.
Oh yeah, I mean it's soaking up into the wood, it's soaking up into the soil.
Done
everything.
right, they look fabulous. It's time to freshen them up this time of year, but please install them correctly.
Okay, yeah, I would say the best thing, find a way to support them from the bottom. Take all of the stress off the side, because it ain't gonna,
It don't work good.
Yeah, but I grow something real though. That's my challenge. Don't just.
Well, in that
stick
case,
some
they have to be
fakies in
deep
there.
enough to have enough soil.
Okay, I mean, let's if you're gonna go to the trouble of doing this, I say, do something real. Keep it real. Well, we're keeping it real here on Tool Talk Radio, here on News Talk 98.9, the Roar of Memphis. At least I like to think we are. Alan, let's turn the corner. Let's go futuristic.
Ooh, okay.
We're going to talk about asteroid mining, maybe a little space farming, and William Shatner going to outer space, and how this is all going to relate to our home improvement of the future.
Absolutely.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I haven't seen you fellas since you destroyed my home, my land, and my rocket.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Yeah, the rocket wasn't destroyed, Allan. It was confiscated, as I recall, or pilfered. I don't know what you did with that thing.
Let's just say it got a better home.
Repurposed. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbert from Geeky Side TV. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989, or go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. Give us a like, send us your picture, send us your stories of home improvement triumphs and tragedies. And also, while you're there, you can check out the must-have item of the week. It's already posted. And if you just woke up and you missed some of Tool Talk Radio, never fear, Allan, because they can just scoot over to tooltalkradio.com. And where will that link take them, sir?
That link is going to land them right in the middle of all of our past episodes and a nifty button to Spotify, so they can actually take us with them wherever they go.
Yeah, I don't like to give Allan credit for too many things because I don't want to inflate his ego, but I got to give you credit, Allan. Spotify is a good platform. I use it all the time anyway, and now I can just if I want to listen to any of our stuff, I can just click it on, and it's easy to, you subscribe, and then you get notifications every time a new episode drops.
Yep, free subscription.
Yeah, it's free. It's a really easy to use platform, good quality,
Indeed.
So, Allan, we're talking. Okay, well, this was a very busy week in space, and we always look to how this stuff. People, you're probably listening, going, well, why are they always talking about space and techie stuff? Because the reason we do, Allan, is because this stuff, if they were doing it at NASA, in 6 months we're going to be having these things in our big box store, and it is going to trickle into the way we live and our home improvement and our vehicles and everything. So,
well, the space program since the 50s, when it actually kind of got really kind of got into gear, really has dramatically changed what happens at the big box store. So much stuff gets developed and so many things get repurposed. Anything from powdered soft drinks. Yeah. Well, that came from a product called Tang that, it's probably even still for sale on the shelf someplace, so that you could, have a powdered orange drink. Of the number of scientific advancements, and I'm going to look at something really cool like a stud finder.
Oh, okay.
The ability to see inside of a wall. All right. I saw a stud finder not too long ago that you hold up to the wall, and there's an app on your smartphone that actually shows you what's inside the wall.
Yeah, that is a great development, because especially if you're in a bathroom and you're wondering, where is that pipe?
Where's those pipes? Where are those pipes?
Yeah, that's a great advancement.
So much of this stuff trickles down in strange ways. And sometimes it's not even in a way that we notice, but it may be in the mix of metals that goes in to make up a hammer, or the subtle design of a shovel, or the advancement of the materials.
Yeah.
Because it could now have a fiberglass handle, or it could have a Kevlar cross of, I'm trying to think of the jump over to the materials now. You can now get a rag made out of nanofibers that you can get wet, snap it one time, put it around your neck, and it almost feels like air conditioning.
Yeah, I've got one of those hats, Allan. I had it all summer, and it really does make a difference. And it's some of these what are these? Like you said, there's fibers that they're using to, instead of a bicycle frame being made of like solid metal or whatever.
Carbon fibers.
Carbon fibers, and that's translating into a lot of the tools we use. And I mean, it's basically lighter and stronger, and it can be configured in a lot of different ways. It's there's a lot of applications.
And then it goes to your and my favorite counterpoint for probably the last 10 years we've known each other. You are a plug fan.
Well,
you are a plug fan. I am a battery driven tool fan.
My big thing, Allan, is just when it comes to power tools, because you're always talking about the battery. Well, for one thing, the battery powered hand tools. Sometimes the battery, I find it cumbersome, but also I just don't get the torque I want I will say, though, in fairness, that's changing. Like,
in the last
they're
10
getting a
years,
lot
talk about a
smarter.
massive shift.
Right. Yeah, the battery technology is improving. So.
Well, guys, all of this at some point or another, we can draw the lines. It's like 6 separations of Kevin Bacon. We can get back to the NASA programs for which industry got the contract to develop something.
Yeah.
You think about optics, the ability to, our smartphones. The big thing on our smartphones, of course, is you have a camera. You have these amazing, and I mean, if you really think about it, think about the quality of the picture, the digital picture that it is, and think about how tiny and how light that camera, quote unquote camera, really is.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's
absolutely stunning compared to just 20 years ago.
Yeah, because some of the cameras we had growing up, Alan, if you were like a professional and you had the 35 millimeter, that thing was huge. I mean, you had a big telephoto lens. I know they still have that too, but it's like you can get comparable pictures in your phone. Yeah, and you can edit it. You can do
and then of course our favorite words. There's an app for that.
Yeah.
So all of these things, and you think about all of the medical advances that come out of this, the ability to watch, what your heart rate is and how's your respiration and how you're working and how you're doing. These are very critical things to know about you in space.
Sure.
Well, guess what? It translates to medicine here on Earth as well. So if you go in for a procedure now they can keep up with whatever your blood oxygen level is with just putting a probe on your finger.
Yeah.
They didn't have to prick you with anything. They didn't have to stab something into you. They just put a little clamp on your finger and they know what your heart rate is, what your O2 stats are. They know a lot about you.
Well, here's where I was thinking of that, Alan. You've got these smartwatches. My son's got a smartwatch, and actually my daughter does too. So at the end of the day, it's like, well, I walked this many steps. I did this. My heart rate is this. Well, imagine that type of technology, folks, for your home. Maybe you have a smart, it's diagnosing, okay, well, you've got a draft in this window over here. The air quality in this room is such and such. What if we got to the point that we had little, almost like little diagnostic digital pads in each room of the house? So you're going, all right, I can run my house more efficiently because the kids are all at school. I'm going to turn the AC down in that, in that area, or I'm gonna, turn the lights out, or I'm going to, it's time to repaint the outside of the house because we're seeing that there's some moisture penetration coming in. Just all sorts of things.
Well, now then
all comes from the space program.
Well, let's flip around and let's talk about painting the outside of the house. Well, what color are you going to paint it? What kind of paint are you going to use? And what technology is in that paint?
Yeah, and talk about why the color matters too.
Well, besides the aesthetics, of if you live in a colder area, darker colors absorb heat. If you live in warmer areas, Memphis and on south, maybe you want lighter colors to help reflect away some of that heat. Of how your roof works.
Yeah.
Your roof is probably going to be part of your electrical generation system in the next 20 years.
Hold on now. Just real quick. I want to just say something. When you're talking, because you triggered me, as you like to do, Alan, when you paint a house, imagine this, folks. So, and I've seen this, especially because I've been working in Harbortown a lot, Alan, and you get very bold colors in the homes there. Well, if you've got some, And there's different materials. So the siding may be made of one thing. The wood trim is made of something else. However, if you have a house where it's more or less the same material and you've got a deep royal blue or one of these funky colors they got right next to a bright white, those are going to expand and contract at different rates because of the so you're going to want to pay attention to where they intersect, because one piece of wood, you're going to be, why is the trim wearing out so much quicker than the siding or something? And
where does gap come from?
Right. A lot of that has to do with the actual color of your home. So, which is all part of the science of the paint, which is all going back to.
Well, exactly. I mean, so that's kind of the reason why you and I get a little geeky over new materials, new technologies. And it's kind of why we watch this, because I find it's funny that, we'll read an article somewhere And they have come up with a fiber that does, and there'll be a whole big thing, and we'll sit around and talk about it, and you'll wonder why it's going to blow up, and I'll wonder why it's going to be fabulous. Yeah. And what's so funny is within a year, you're going to walk through your big box store, and there's going to be a product featuring whatever that is we were talking about.
Yeah, go look at go to the hammer section, folks. If you next time you go to your big box store, how many wooden handles do you see anymore out? You see a very small amount. Then you see all these carbon fiber. You see these different.
I saw one with a Kevlar handle.
Right.
And I'm like, are we shooting at something? But you think about it. Then of course they're like, well, this has motion, vibration, absorption. Like, okay. And of course, going through one of the box stores of, I think it was in Jackson, Mississippi. They actually had like a hit something hard demonstration. It was great. You walked in and they had like a metal block and a wood block, and you picked up the hammer and you got to give it a good whack.
Yeah.
To, of course, on the wood hammer,
So you're feeling the vibration.
And then you picked up this thing with the Kevlar coating and the fiberglass insert and the special metal mix, and you whack that thing, and you're like, hey.
Well, if you're a contractor, didn't kill you. You're, or even a homeowner, but it's like just if you're using that thing every day, it's good for your. Think of that. It's good for the health of your bones. That's less vibration, less impact. All of that stuff plays a role.
So it gets kind of amazing, and it's kind of weird how really advanced science sneaks into just our everyday, I would say, mundane lives when you go to the big box store and you're looking at stuff.
Yeah.
Think about just something as simple as like a galvanized nail.
Sure.
The chemical coatings.
Which are my favorite, by the way.
Of the difference between a drywall screw and an exterior construction screw. They look exactly the same.
Yeah, one of them will rust.
Chemically, they're drastically different.
Yeah. But and it's funny because a lot of that stuff, not everything, but a lot of it originates. I'm thinking probably your smart home technology. A lot of that, I'm sure, developed in that. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that too. But and we definitely got to give a shout out to William Shatner. I mean,
way to go! 90 years old, flying in space. You gotta love it.
Holy smokes! So Allan, sometimes listening
to
the show,
hope.
I feel like my brain is flying through space. But anyway, we're here on Earth. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
And welcome to Hour 2 of Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbert from Geeky Side TV. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989, or go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. Give us a like. You can get in touch with us there. You can also see the must-have item of the week before everybody else gets to see it. If that's what you live for, if you just live for that spoiler experience, just go ahead and check it out. And also if you miss any of Tool Talk Radio, never fear, because all of the shows get posted on tooltalkradio.com. And there's that beautiful link to Spotify, Allan. So
indeed.
We're on Spotify, which I really like. It's a great platform, and it's easy to use, good quality, and it's just convenient, So we try to keep things convenient.
They like to say there's an app for that. We're an app. Yay.
Absolutely. I don't know if there's an app for this, Allan, but by the way, if you ever have a roofing problem, this is a big deal. It came home to me last night, Allan. It was raining really hard, and I'm sitting there looking out at my brand new roof going, just, laughing, because I'm like,
no squirrels, no water, no raccoons, pretty brand new roof. Yeah.
And I have to thank Jay Hill from Big M Roofing for this, because basically, he's our roofer, and he what's cool about Jay is the roof, it's a big deal to replace it. You got to get it right. It's a roofing system these days. You don't just get up there and knock a few shingles together.
Yeah.
They have all sorts of systems to relieve the heat in your attic, to make your to make the shingles last longer. These things have lifetime transferable warranties, and a lot of times, not a lot, but it's possible that the replacement of your roof might be covered by your homeowner's insurance. And that's one of the things, that's one of the benefits of working with Jay Hill and Big M Roofing, because Jay's a former insurance agent, so he understands all the protocols. He knows what to look for with the replacement, and that's very useful for you. So not only is he a GAF Master Elite installer, accredited by the Better Business Bureau, all sorts of 5-star ratings, but he also knows the insurance game. So he's a very valuable person to talk to, and he's just kind of funny anyway.
No, he's a trip.
He knows everybody you know too. Talk to him for 5 minutes, and he's going to know your cousin Bob and you know, everybody. He knows.
But he really knows roofing. He really does.
He does. So get in touch with him at 901-484-5645 or go to bigmroofingandremodeling.com. So, Allan, I've had this in my notes for a while. We're going to change gears a little bit because this resonates with me because, you know, full disclosure, my home was built, I think it was built in 62. I always forget. I can't remember if it's 52 or 62.
You're 52.
But it's got those big wooden doors. I have a 2-car garage, which I love. It's basically my workshop. But the doors, man, when it gets to the time of year where there's humidity and they start to swell up, and there's a fine balance because you got to keep the garage door tight enough where nothing can get through, but also open enough where it'll open and close easier. And, you know, the garage door is a big deal, Allan, and there's maintenance involved. A lot of people probably have normal garage doors, like made of aluminum or something, but even that requires, you know, we're talking about high tension springs.
We're talking endangering your life.
Yeah, those
level
springs
technology.
Are dangerous.
Yeah. There are 2 basic types of garage door. I'm going to pick on in the Mid-South.
Okay.
There is the wound spring style. So when you walk into your garage and you're looking at your garage door and it's down, there's going to be one major spring in the center over the top of your door that's very tightly wound. This is the type where I'm going to look at you and say, if you're not a door technician, do not play with this.
This is not a DIY.
No.
We're all about DIY, but not when it comes to the garage door.
This thing,
man, that thing is,
It has the power to, and I mean, we're actually being very serious for a moment, that this thing actually has the power to kill you.
Yeah.
It has to lift a very heavy door. It's wound very tight, and it is a very substantial spring.
Yeah, and the thing about the garage door too, Allan, it's got the rails. It looks pretty basic, but it's a very finely tuned instrument.
It is. It's balanced.
Yeah, it's got to be balanced, and you got it. So if you notice anything out of the ordinary, if you're looking up at your garage door and you're going, why is that one bolt coming out of the sheetrock, or why is that rail there have a bend in it?
It sounds like it's shaking a lot more than it used to.
Right.
Yeah. Please look these things over. They're fairly easy to keep lubed. It's pretty much just a standard.
It's like a grease kind of.
Just basically your standard insert grease. You can look it up on your owner's manuals to exactly which one they want to use.
Yeah.
And that keeps the wheels and everything moving. But give it a check, especially this time of year when it's nice outside and you can open the garage up. Look around and make sure nothing is shaken loose, nothing is pulled out. Make sure the wires are in good shape.
Yeah, because they can come loose. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of torque.
Right.
There's expansion and contraction. It's just I wanted to throw that out there, Allan, because it really is an important function and an important feature of our homes that, man, you do not play games with the garage.
Actually, I've seen one. I saw one with a broken spring one time that fired around the garage and went out the back window.
Yeah. Gosh, I wish there were a video of that. Man. So anyway, well, just that's let's call that a PSA.
Yes.
Take care of your garage door.
Give it a quick look.
Allan, I don't think this is a PSA. This is fascinating. We're going to do one of our deep cuts when we come back. Max is going to talk about how the pyramids might have really been built.
Awesome.
You're listening to Tool Talk Radio here on News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis. We'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Is there anywhere in this town where we could buy a shrubbery?
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Go to Allan Gilbert's house. You'll get all the shrubbery you need, sir. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbert from Geeky Side TV. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And also go check us out at Tool Talk Radio on our Facebook page. You can get a spoiler on what our must-have item of the week is, which is coming up shortly. And also send us messages, follow us on there. And also, what's great about that is if you miss any episode of Tool Talk Radio, we always have links there. You can go to tooltalkradio.com. Send us links there. And, you can email us, right? If they go to Allan, if they go to tooltalkradio.com and they want to send us a message, that'll come
absolutely.
All right. So there's really no reason not to get in touch with us. So, Allan, in a minute, we're going to talk. Max has got a really cool, one of his deep cuts that we're going to get to. I don't know if this okay. Hold your finger over the button for a second, Max. Before we get to that, though, I just want to remind people, if you need to buy or sell a home, wouldn't it be great to make the experience quick, easy, and fun?
Absolutely.
I mean, these days, I got to be honest, everything's happening quick.
It's a competition out there, folks.
But let's make it easy and fun. How's that? Because, boy, if you're selling your house, you're in a really good position. But then you got to buy a house. So it's buying a house it's the Thunderdome these days, Allan. You gotta win the home. You gotta
win something these days. Yeah.
I was talking to Rick Bowman the other day about this too, and as a matter of fact, we've got a real estate transaction. It's going to be very interesting. That it's one that I'm dealing with, Allan. That's going to be pretty exciting, and I'll be talking about that in the near future. But he was talking to me about they can help you in all areas, because for one thing, you get qualified, underwritten, and financed all under one roof. But also they can help you. They have different services to help you improve your credit score. So like if you think, well, next year we are probably buying or selling a home, well, you want to get your financing in order and get yourself in as strong of a position as you can. So it's kind of like, you could almost say a credit tune-up that they can help you do, get yourself in shape. So, but it's nothing. It's not like the old days, Allan. It's got to happen fast, and you've got to really know your stuff to win the home. So get in touch with them. They're great people over there at Weichert Realtors Benchmark. Have I given their name out yet?
Yep. Yeah, you might have mentioned it.
I don't know. Weichert Realtors Benchmark. Rick and Susie Bowman. They run a great operation over there, and I love their easy to remember phone number, 901-202-2000. Weichert Realtors Benchmark. All right, Max. Now you can cue your sound. I don't know if this is a deep cut though, Max. This is a. We were talking about this, and I thought it was a fascinating subject. And what triggered it was, Allan, there's still speculation on how the pyramids were built.
Correct.
Okay. Well, and Max, you've seen some videos, and there's some interesting theories, and we're going to talk about that.
Let's just say it has to do with the power of the Nile.
Okay. Yeah. So, Allan, one of the things that's noteworthy about the pyramids, for one thing, they're very level. And this is, these things are massive. I don't even know. They're as tall as like what the Clark Tower or so. I mean, these things are really tall, right? They're like,
yeah, they're not small. Right.
Okay. So one thing that's noteworthy, and then the other is like, how the heck did they get all of those stones cut to that size?
Right.
How did they lift them? There's theories about that, right, Max?
Yes. It's all about, now we're talking about the power of physics with water.
Right, because the pyramids are right next to the water. They're right next to the Nile. So can you describe this? Is going to be a little tricky to describe over the radio, but what's the prevailing theory that there was a theory that we found really compelling, Allan?
Okay.
So how did they do it, Max?
I'm waiting like a cat eating cheese with bated breath.
Okay. Well, let's begin with phase one of this theory. So, first of all, again, they placed there's a harbor near the construction site of the pyramid, and then when the tides start to rise, these blocks all placed in there during the time when the water is not there are filled. They have reed mats alongside bladders to kind of help, help create floats so that when the water rises, the blocks rise with the water as well. So that's phase 1 of the process.
Yeah, can I describe? So I was watching this video, Alan. So basically, there's these channels, and they're, if you look, people, and this is not debated, they're right there. You can go look at them today. There's these almost looks like a drainage ditch, but they're big and they're very precisely cut, and they run from the Nile all the way up to the pyramids. And
That's
you're
correct.
Like, why is that there? Because some people said. That one theory was this was a ceremonial parade route. Like you march whatever the thing is from the Nile to the pyramids, which I'm like, okay, that's because it's cut with such precision, it's watertight. That seems like a pretty expensive sidewalk to. Well, yeah. So that right away caught somebody's attention.
Well, I'm going to throw in my answer to how do they build the pyramids.
Okay. Well, okay.
And it's because they wanted to.
Well, it's still a massive undertaking.
Well, and I say that to agree with you. Looking at your trenches and water and that kind of stuff, you get 5, 10, 15, 20, or in this case, probably thousands of people together.
Yeah.
And basically, you'd throw out a problem. Okay, guys, we got this 10-ton block of stone over here, and it needs to be over there.
Yeah. Yep.
And you give it about an hour and you offer somebody a free lunch for an answer, and you'll be amazed. People will come up with a way. And sometimes it is utterly out of left field.
Yeah.
And you know what the weird thing is? We use the same techniques today.
Well, Max, can I want to describe this one video I saw that you turned me on to. Basically, Allan, so you picture, so you start with the notion of you've got this powerful river right there, okay, and you want this thing to be level, and you want this to be, you want to get this material. So what they came up with was the stone is right there by the river, which I did not know. It's like a limestone. Well, when limestone is wet, it's very easy to carve. You can, if it's soft, and so basically they would cut these into blocks while they're underwater. And so
they're nice and wet,
they're nice and wet. And believe it or not, people, copper saws is just what they were in the Copper Age. They would cut these into blocks while they're down by the river. Say. Then, like Max said, they wrap ropes around them. They fill them. They either use wood or like animal bladders, and they basically get them. So once the tide rises, because it rises for like 3 months out of the year, they will float. And what they constructed was this channel. This is the theory. I'm just going, and this theory seems very plausible. So you float the rocks over to the area where you're going to be building the pyramid. Well, the other thing that's great about water, Allan, is it creates a perfect level.
It does.
So they dug. The theory is they dug a trench in a giant square, and they started stacking the stones, and they were basically working underwater, like 3 or 4 feet underwater. Well, when you're carving a stone and setting it in place with water, it's going to be perfectly level because you're going to keep it right at an inch or so from the surface. You're carving it while it's wet. It's easy to maneuver. It's floating. Then when you get it in position, you cut it out. And then I guess what they were showing is these. Have you ever taken a glass, Allan? You put it in. If you take a glass, people, and you put it in a sink and then turn it upside down, and it's full of water, and you take it above the water level, the water stays in place.
Oh, I built aquariums like that.
Yeah. Well, so what they did is they had these 4 chutes going up each side of the pyramid as it got higher and higher, and you would open a gate, let these stones float through, and it would virtually float vertically up to where you wanted them. And it's a pretty plausible theory.
Yeah, it's a lock theory. Yeah.
It's really interesting. And to me, this is the one that really makes the most sense. So, not everybody agrees on it, but Max, where do you fall? Because you saw about 4 or 5 theories, right?
I'd say it's probably the most plausible because when you look at having to build like these dirt ramps or something to kind of guide the stones up, and then people pushing them or animals pushing them, it seems incredibly impractical because it's like you have to keep building up and up and up the ramps and everything, as opposed to like having your fancy pyramid water elevator.
Yeah. Yeah, it made it a lot easier. And so you're also working under about 4 feet of water, so you're staying cool, because think how hot it was there. But also, the other thing is interesting. If you ever see an aerial photo, it's got to be at the right time of day, but you will see, even though the pyramids look perfectly flat, you'll see a shadow where it's slightly concave. Like on the side, there could have been something putting pressure on it, and there's residue from all sorts of water inside the pyramids. It's very suggestive, and it's really interesting.
And here's going to be the cool thing. It's not going to be any one building style. I'm going to have to say building a pyramid was D, all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to take that theory, and I'm going to raise you an Edward Leedskallen.
Okay. Of course, you're going to give a word I don't know what you mean, but
Well, Edward Leedskallen was a Latvian immigrant that moved to Homestead, Florida back in the 40s.
Okay.
And he built by hand something called the Coral Castle.
Ah, okay.
So he personally, this little dude was like 5 foot tall, weighed 100 pounds, and he moved blocks of stone by himself that weighed tens of thousands of pounds.
Well, because people are probably going, why are you guys talking about the pyramids? That's not really much. I'm not going to live in a pyramid. But the reason is, folks, because when you study this stuff, it gives you ideas. It helps you be more
how
innovative.
we do things today.
Because,
Absolutely.
Yeah, this person was probably inspired by things like that. So it's useful to watch that stuff, and study it, and it's going to make you better at home improvement.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway, well, we hope we're making you better at home improvement or more excited about home improvement. If not, you can have your money back. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to give you our must-have item of the week.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I'm always thinking one step ahead, like a carpenter that makes stairs.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbert from Geeky Side TV, and our producer Max behind the glass, who I was waiting for a funny rejoinder, and we didn't get one. Max, put the donut down, and Anyway, you can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. Hey, Allan, before the break, we were talking about the some videos that Max and I have both been watching about different theories about how the pyramids were built. And people might be going, well, the pyramids, what does that have to do with my home? Well, a lot of this stuff, it's just good to study. One of the things we're big proponents of here on Tool Talk Radio is the more you're in touch with, space science, with galactic stuff, maybe even learning about meteorology, or did I say that word right?
Close enough.
All of that stuff relates to your home, and it's just it ties in ways it makes you innovative. You were talking about a man before the break that somehow built this coral. He built a home moving these giant stones more or less by himself, using levers and using things that maybe the Egyptians used back in the day, right?
Well, for anybody that's ever visited the Miami area or have been down to Homestead, Florida, they have, of course, a world-famous structure called the Coral Castle.
Yeah, I think I've seen videos of
and
that. Yeah.
It's been featured on 1,000 TV shows. You can just go to any search engine and type in Coral Castle, Florida, and will all pop up. And a very small man. He was honestly 5 foot tall. He weighed right around 100 pounds, and he was a stone worker from, I believe it was Latvia.
Yep.
And he was supposed to get married, got dumped at the altar, immigrated to the U.S., never remarried, worked as a stone worker by day, and at night he went and quarried his own limestone and brought it back to his property and just kind of built his own little fantasy world.
Huh.
And no one ever helped him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now, personally, I'll confess to being kind of a big guy.
Yeah.
I'm 6 foot. I weigh, let's just say comfortably over 200 pounds.
Yeah.
And, so I make a fairly robust amount of ballast.
You got good leverage.
If I need to sit on something on one end while somebody does something on the other, it's not pretty much not going to move. But this is not, this is a guy who's working totally on brain power. Mm-hmm. He's got the skills, and he moved block after block after block of this stuff and built basically a small little city over some 28 some odd years. He finally passed away in 1951, and the world got to walk in, and he had erected and carved all kinds of statues and shapes. He built all these little buildings and facilities. And one of the coolest things he had was a wall with a huge block of stone on it that you could move with just the touch of a finger.
Oh, because it was so perfectly balanced and
no one's been able to figure out how he did it. Well, it finally quit working a couple of years ago. It finally ground to a halt. So we had to bring in all kinds of massive heavy lifting equipment to let this thing down easy so they didn't break it. And they discovered that he had chipped away at the rock underneath and had put a big old wheel bearing in it from a car.
Oh, gotcha.
And then had perfectly balanced this thing all by himself on top of that wheel bearing so that this giant block of stone turned so easily.
Okay.
So it gets really interesting how imaginative even the individual can get. So when I go back to how did they build the pyramids? Because they wanted to.
Yeah.
That applies to so many buildings through history. And if you want to just look at miracles, look at something like the Empire State Building.
Yeah, I mean, who would sit down and go, we're going to do this?
I mean, the Empire State Building was not built in the 80s.
No.
You look at stuff that was, from the Grand Reconstruction. You look at something like the Hoover Dam.
Yeah.
And these structures, when you see them, are breathtakingly huge.
Yeah, you almost think, how is this even possible to make something this massive?
The Eiffel Tower is astounding. The Statue of Liberty.
The Golden Gate Bridge.
These things are just amazing. And the scale is just astounding. And to think, this was built almost 100 years ago now.
Yeah.
Most of the major infrastructure in this country is about 100 years old.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible when you think about it. I'm still amazed at how they even build bridges. I'm like, you got rushing water. I'm down by the Mississippi a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how the heck did they build that bridge? It's just, the forces involved. But I wanted to back up on something you said because you triggered me once again, Allan. You said that this guy that built the Coral Castle was dumped at the altar.
Yep.
Well, it reminds me of a guy. There's a guy, I can't remember his name, but he lived in England back, 20 years ago, and his wife left him, and he poured all of his energy because he was so heartbroken. He was a big Star Trek fan, so he converted his London apartment into basically the entire apartment became like the bridge, not the bridge, but it looked like a Star Trek ship. Like
wow.
He made the inside where it had a transporter. It had and he wound up getting offers. People wanted to buy this thing for $2 million or something like that.
My goodness.
It's a pretty impressive setup. Well, I'm just thinking, Allan, is that the key to success? Maybe that's a
obsession?
No, maybe that's a segment we have to do in the future. Is that the best way to get, maybe the Pharaoh was heartbroken and he put all his effort into building these pyramids because somewhere along the line, somebody with a broken heart can achieve great things.
Oh, no, you're talking about the palace over in India. That was the broken heart.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a connection here because you're saying you have to have the will to do it. Maybe the designer of the Empire State Building was brokenhearted or something. Now we need to look at the correlation.
We got to look at that. Yeah,
these superstructures versus the designers and how well their personal lives went.
Well, I know a lot of these designers were very obsessed because when you get to the Statue of Liberty, which was basically, I guess you could call it the very first crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Because really everybody liked the idea, but nobody wanted to pay for it.
Right.
You look at some of these other massive works. There had to be a president or somebody really driven behind it to get it done.
Yeah, very interesting.
And the really scary thing is if you think about the space program, I'll pick on that again for just a minute. They flew to the moon guys, back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah. We need to, every one of us needs to recapture that, all human beings we're capable.
That can do amazing spirit of just getting out there. And, a lot of people look at, anybody that follows me knows that I do a lot of gardening and a lot of cooking.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, well, when do you have time to do all this? And I'm like, you just do?
You just prioritize.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, well, I'm going to check my garden every day. I'm going to go out there and you spend, whether it's 5 minutes or 20 minutes or maybe an hour, but I'm going to get something done every time I go out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, Allan, in a minute we're going to get to our must-have item of the week, but I don't want to I don't want to forget to check in with you about Geeky Side TV. So, what's the latest over there on your network, sir?
Well, we're having a blast with Halloween, of course.
Naturally.
For those of you in the Memphis, we still have On the Scene with Kate Mobley that did a lot of great interviews with local filmmakers. Of course, Scott J. Carroll's Storytime is just the runaway hit.
Yeah.
Just too funny. I
love those things.
They're simple and just you'll just crack up with him.
Yeah.
And
I feel like we're going to be hearing more from Scott.
Oh yeah, we're going to hear a lot more from Scott here lately.
Yeah.
And of course the big thing for Halloween, of course, is Scary Stories with Kalila, where she goes in and talks about people's real scary stories, their haunted houses and other paranormal experiences.
Okay. So how do people how do people check it out?
All they got to do is pop over to geekysidetv.com. Or they can tune in via their Roku TV or their Fire Stick or their Apple TV.
It's free. It's
a free subscription. Yes.
Yeah, I've downloaded it. It's pretty easy. I think it takes like 30 seconds.
Yeah, it doesn't take long at all.
Yeah, and you're not saying, hey, give us all your personal information and
nope.
give us all your email addresses.
It's just click and enjoy watching.
Click and go.
Yes.
Okay. That's and then also if you're a content creator, you may want to.
By all means, we want to hear from you. Yes.
Okay, so how do they do that?
Again, just go to geekysidetv.com and click on the Contact Us link, fill out the information, and send us an email.
Okay. That sounds good, Allan. And as long as we're talking about that, if you miss any of Tool Talk Radio, we'd like you to get in touch with us. Get in touch with us on Facebook. You can go like Tool Talk Radio on Facebook. You can go to tooltalkradio.com, subscribe to our podcast, listen to us on Spotify. Connect with the Tool Talk family.
All right, we're
Allan,
there.
I guess when we come back, we're going to get to our must-have item of the week. We're getting all these digressions, but I think they work. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I've got one single nail and another nail to nail it in with. And I'm going to stop this infernal ice cream machine once and for all.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
See, those are the calls you get, Allan. After that guy's been working on your equipment. And welcome back to...
sounded so familiar. Like, oh.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbert from Geeky Side TV and our pal Max behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling hotline at 901-683-0989. I just want to take a minute to apologize to Max. Max, I don't know. I bought these new headphones, and Allan, they're going in and out. I think I don't know if I need to return them or something.
I think it's your ears.
I think Joe's just deaf.
I think he's deaf.
I don't know, people. It's live radio. You never know what you're going to get.
You take your chances.
I missed your last rejoinder, but I'm sure it was a good one.
It was enjoyable. I had fun.
Okay. Hey, so guys, if you go to our Facebook page, tooltalkradio.com at Tool Talk Radio, you will see the item that I'm holding up as our must-have item of the week, Allan. So tell us what I've got here.
It is a lovely 1.5-inch, slightly angled paintbrush.
Yeah, it's a tapered. Now this is specific, Allan. This is a wait. I thought I put one. I might have put a typo. I think it is a 1.5-inch.
What you got in your hand is 1.5.
And it's tapered. It's the thin brush, but this is specifically a latex brush, Allan.
Yes.
I apologize to no one when I say that, because I do a fair amount of painting with the work that I do, and I have, gosh, I don't want to get into trouble with the sponsors or anything. I've never had much use for the China bristle brushes, even for oil-based paint.
Mm-hmm.
Even I use this brush even for oil-based.
Right.
I use it for latex and oil. I just find that it holds the paint better. It's I don't know when I clean it if maybe it's not going to last as long, but it's just I like it. It gets into the thinner brush gets into areas that tighter spots, like maybe between a door and a wall. Sometimes you have these little gaps that you can't get to with a bigger brush.
Well, again, the proper tool for the proper job.
Yeah.
And let's talk about a few hints of paint etiquette.
Sure.
I was sitting here talking to a friend of mine this week who is looking to hire some people, and we were kind of giggling over the number of people that come in and tell you, "Oh yeah, I'm a painter. I've been painting for years." Mm-hmm. And I hate to say this, but we have a really simple test to see if you're lying or not.
That's okay, Alan. That's a great idea because anybody could say they're a professional painter,
and they
don't
do.
Go to college, for
and
that.
They do. Everybody does.
Oh, let's hear it.
But we have a really
tests,
simple test for you.
Okay.
We will give you a little test board, and we'll give you a small can of paint, little small sampler size can of paint, and a brush that we don't like anymore because chances are.
Yeah.
Chances are you're going to do something really heinous to it.
You're supposed to, you take good care of your paintbrush if you're.
All right. Most people don't.
Yeah.
And good paintbrushes, let me throw this out there, folks, are expensive.
No, okay, I debate
a
that.
good
Alan,
paintbrush, well, when you start talking $10 a brush.
Okay, a bad paintbrush is like $6. A really good one is like $12. So
right.
I'll have paintbrushes that last 4 or 5 years.
No! See, you said the magic words.
Yeah.
You spent $12 over 4 years.
Right.
I spend $12 every Monday morning.
Okay.
Because somebody has failed their paint test.
Right. Okay.
And all right, ladies and gentlemen, there are two sides to a brush. You don't even have to use both sides.
I never do.
And most people don't. And most people have no idea what I just said.
Well, tell us your test because I cut you off.
Because, we give them a little thing. And if you take that paintbrush and you jam that baby in there and swirl it around and get that brush really full of paint and start painting, you just failed.
Yeah, because tell us what happens with that.
Oh.
Well, for one thing, if you don't drip everywhere, you're
slinging paint. We'll start there. We're slinging paint. 2, you just messed up the brush layout.
Yeah.
The brush, believe it or not, if you look at your modern paintbrush, and I had to go steal it from Joe here so I could hold it.
Yeah.
When you look at it and you rub your fingers down it, it has a really smooth, silky feel because a paintbrush is not an individual fiber. If you looked at each one of those individual fibers under a magnifying glass or a microscope, you would see that they are just bristly. They actually look like a cat's tail.
Oh,
all these tiny, tiny little fibers.
That's interesting.
And those are the things that hold the paint.
Oh,
and
I never did that before. That's kind of interesting.
And you should go on to a couple. Yeah, you should go on a couple of shows I go to, Joe. Because, when they'll break out the microscope and go, let me show you how much paint this brush can hold.
Yeah.
So what you have here is a good brand. I'm not going to say it, but it's a really good brand brush. It is not a cheapy brush.
Yeah.
And the little bristles, the little fibers in this are very, very bristly. And you can tell that by how silky smooth the brush feels to your fingers.
Yeah.
And you really should never get paint above the halfway point on a paintbrush.
That's what I think too, Alan. That's about the because, like you said, when it gets down into that metal area, for one thing, it'll swell
you're not
up at
painting
the bottom.
anymore, right?
It's
You're not
gonna
painting
drip.
anymore,
it's
right?
Gonna be and it messes up the whole the brush starts to get kind of concave. It won't give you that smooth,
Right.
But also, I totally agree with you. When I paint, basically. I'm pretty partial to these tapered brushes. That's almost all I ever use because you can get that point into the corner and everything. And so, but I always just use I will dip it in and then I scrape off, not scrape, I remove half the paint on the other brush.
Right.
And another tip, as long as we're talking about painting tips, is keep that rim of the paint can clean. Nothing irritates me more than when you see these guys, it gunks it up. You go to close the lid and it won't close because it's dried up and there's a bunch of layer. It's, and then the paint's going to dry out.
I learned the coolest trick to get away from that.
I think I know where you're going.
Either you need a small nail or you need a small drill bit.
Okay.
Because the way the paint can sits, the way the can sits down in there, it sits in that ridge.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you take a small nail or a small drill bit and put you 4 holes, one, north, south, east, and west, in the bottom of that well, not the sides, got to be straight in the bottom. When you dip, you're going to get paint everywhere on the can. But when you have some little small holes in it, guess what? It runs and drips back into your paint can so that you don't have the well full of paint to seize up and get all nasty.
Oh, this is good. This is a counterpoint, because Alan, I totally disagree with you on this one. So, okay, here.
All right, man, I'm ready. Here we go.
Okay, so guys, there we go. Thanks, Max. So, let me say this. Okay, if you use that with oil-based paint or like a stain, something very runny,
right?
It does work.
Yeah, it works good with regular paint too.
It doesn't really work very well with latex. Those holes, because latex dries a lot faster to the touch. Here's what I'm going to say though, Alan. People, I hope you're following this. So if you imagine that little groove that catches all of the paint, Alan is suggesting that you put a hole in that.
Yes.
Well, here's the thing. What you've also done is you've made it harder to get that real tight seal when you hit the lid. Because I've seen that, Alan, where if you don't get that baby completely closed, because you're still going to have paint on the rim of the can, at some point, it gets gunked up. I found that it allows air in through those little holes and it'll dry out the paint.
Not if you put them in the bottom of the ridge. Never had a problem in, 30 years of doing that.
Okay, well, why don't they design paint cans with holes in the bottom?
I wish they did. I think
there's a flaw in that.
I haven't found one. I haven't found a flaw. It works perfectly for me.
It does. I will agree though, when it's something very watery like stain or something, that it'll work. But boy, I don't know. I'm kind of hesitant to do that. Here's the other reason, Alan. If you if you get a hammer, and a nail or a drill, well, especially if you use a hammer and a nail, you might just slightly bend that. When the force might slightly bend the that valley or something, so that it's not going to close as tight. Like,
this isn't Putin trying to weaponize it. You shouldn't beat it senseless.
Okay.
It's a little tap, tap, tap. It's called finesse, Joe.
I don't know. All right.
It works good for me. Works good for me. So what can I tell you?
We'd love to know where you stand on this stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, join in this little fight. Have you ever done this? Does it work for you? Does it not work for you?
Yeah.
Send us an email. Pop over to tooltalkradio.com and say, all right, I heard you guys arguing on the radio, and we're going to weigh in on this.
Yeah, I would do that.
And you might win some tickets.
You might, actually. So, hey, Alan, before we get out of here, I need to remind people about something. If you need a deck or a pergola or a patio cover or a fence or really anything made out of wood for the outside of your home, just give me a call. I can handle this. This is what I like to do. I enjoy this work, Alan, because it's not...
It is. It's so beautiful this time of year.
It's never an emergency situation. Almost never. I can't say anybody has said, I need a deck built tomorrow because, something. It's usually a pleasant experience because it's they've budgeted for it, they've planned for it, and we love the design process, and I keep my overhead low. And usually I beat just about everybody's prices, but the craftsmanship's, that's what I focus on. So if you need any of those things, anything made out of wood for the outside of your home, give me a call at 901-921-7105 or go to my website, thorshomes.com. And Alan, we've been slowly assembling the team here. So if you're a contractor or a business person that you feel like you'd like to have a presence on Tool Talk and lend your expertise to the discussion and, promote your business, give me a call directly at 901-921-7105, and we'll talk. We'll get the conversation going, because I really, Alan, I think we need like some electricians, plumbers. That's the reason that we have guests on the show.
Oh,
it's
yes.
nice to get their expertise, and and learn things. So, and maybe they can answer the question finally. If we get the right, could a concrete person give us the definitive answer about how the pyramids were built? I mean, you never know.
Ooh, that'd be fun to find out. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
So we want to get those guys involved. So, but Allan, I would definitely recommend people get on YouTube and look up some of these things and tell us what you think. There's so many cool videos out there. There's so many ways to get motivated, and there's also a lot of idiots out there too that are sort of entertaining to watch.
There are a lot of cautionary tales of what not to do.
Yeah, go to Total Idiots at Work, and you'll see some juicy stuff.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so what a day, Allan. We've gone from outer space to ancient Egypt, and
hey, when I'm 90, I want to go fly in space.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Well, anyway, you've been listening to another action-packed episode of Tool Talk Radio here on News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis. On behalf of my friend Allan Gilbreth and Max Behind the Glass, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.